Alright, let's dive into the history of the United Kingdom, home to kings, queens, revolutions, and a global empire that once covered nearly a quarter of the world. This small island nation has shaped the course of history in ways that are still felt today. From Viking invasions to world wars, the UK's past is full of drama, power struggles, and some seriously game-changing moments. The early days, Celts, Romans, and Vikings. Long before it became the United Kingdom, these islands were inhabited by Celtic tribes, who built massive stone circles looking at you Stonehenge, and fought off waves of invaders. Then, in 43 CE, the Romans showed up, led by Emperor Claudius, and conquered much of what is now England and Wales. They built roads, baths, and even a massive wall Hadrian's wall to keep out the fierce northern warriors, the Picts. But Rome eventually fell, and the Anglo-Saxons took over, bringing their language and culture with them. Then came the Vikings, who raided and settled in parts of England, leading to centuries of conflict. The most famous battle, the Norman Conquest of 1066, when William the Conqueror from France invaded and became the first Norman king of England. That moment changed everything from language to laws and set the stage for the kingdom that would eventually become the UK. The rise of England, Scotland, and Wales. Over the next few centuries, England and Scotland were constantly at odds, with epic battles like the ones you see in Britain. Meanwhile, Wales was brought under English control in the 13th century by King Edward I, who built castles everywhere to keep the Welsh in check. Then, in 1603, something big happened. King James VI of Scotland became King James I of England after Queen Elizabeth I died without an heir. This united the crowns, but the two countries were still separate nations. For now, civil war, revolutions, and the birth of the UK. The 17th century was chaos. England was torn apart by civil war between King Charles I and Parliament, leading to the king losing his head literally. For a brief period, England was a republic under Oliver Cromwell, but by 1660, the monarchy was back. Fast forward to 1707, and England and Scotland officially joined together to form Great Britain. Then, in 1801, Ireland was added, creating the United Kingdom of Great Britain and Ireland. But the empire was just getting started. The British Empire, the nation that ruled the world. By the 19th century, Britain was the most powerful empire on earth. Thanks to the Industrial Revolution, it had factories, railways, and technology that made it a global superpower. The British Empire stretched from Canada to India, Australia to Africa, and the phrase, "the sun never sets on the British Empire," became a reality. But it wasn't all glory. There were dark chapters too. The empire profited from the transatlantic slave trade, brutally crushed rebellions, and exploited resources in its colonies. Over time, resistance movements grew, and by the mid-20th century, many nations gained independence, starting with India in 1947. 2 world wars and a changing nation. The 20th century brought 2 devastating world wars that changed Britain forever. In World War I, millions of British soldiers fought in the trenches, and by the end of it, the empire was weakened. Then came World War II, where Britain, led by Winston Churchill, stood strong against Nazi Germany, surviving the Blitz and playing a key role in the Allied victory. After the war, the UK faced massive changes, rationing, economic struggles, and the slow dismantling of the empire. By the 1960s and 70s, Britain had transformed into a modern, multicultural society. Modern UK, a kingdom still in flux. Today, the United Kingdom is made up of 4 nations: England, Scotland, Wales, and Northern Ireland, but that unity is constantly debated. Scotland has pushed for independence. Brexit changed the UK's relationship with Europe, and political shifts continue to shape its future. But despite all the changes, one thing is certain: the UK has left an undeniable mark on world history, from Shakespeare to the Beatles, the Magna Carta, to the Industrial Revolution. Fun fact, did you know that the UK has had a Queen Elizabeth I and II, but there's never been a King Elizabeth? Makes you wonder who'll be next on the throne, right? So, whether you think of medieval knights, world-shaping empires, or rock and roll legends, the UK's history is a story of power, rebellion, and reinvention. It may be a small island, but its influence has been massive.